You heard the story about the biology teacher who was doing a week-long unit on marine mammals. And he got to the day when he was going to be talking about whales. And he said, I want to start off by making it very clear. You've heard these myths about whales swallowing human beings. He says it's impossible. He said a whale's esophagus is too small to swallow a human being. It just can't happen. The young woman in the front row held up her hand. She said, excuse me, sir, but how about Jonah? The professor said, I'm telling you, a human being cannot be swallowed by a whale. She said, well, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask Jonah about it. He said, well, what if Jonah went to hell? She said, well then, you can ask him. Now that story begs the question, do teacher-student relationships really matter? Or to be more specific, if a biology professor ridicules a student in class, will it impact the quality of that young woman's educational experience in that classroom? Well, I love Rita Pearson's response on TED Talk. She writes the story of a teacher colleague of hers saying to her, Rita, I am not paid to have kids like me. I am paid to teach a lesson. The kids are there to learn it. Case closed. Rita said, well, kids don't learn from people they don't like. And the other side of that is that kids also do not learn from teachers that they think do not like them. Had lunch one day with Dr. Melissa Pearson. Dr. Pearson was the Associate Dean of School of Education at the University of Houston. Melissa said, effective teaching is a three-legged stool. The first leg is content. Teachers have to have great knowledge of the subject matter and a passion for teaching it. And the second leg is pedagogy. Teachers need to be aware of the latest and greatest in communication skills and to employ those skills in conveying the lesson in the classroom. And she said, and the third leg is caring relationships with students. You know, kids will work hard for a teacher that they cares about them, and they will either ignore or dismiss or even rebel against a teacher they think does not care about them. Truth of the matter is, a teacher can have excellent knowledge of the subject matter, have wonderful pedagogical skills, and if the kids don't feel like the teacher cares for them, all the rest of that really won't matter. So the three-legged stool of effective teaching is good content, effective pedagogical skills, and caring relationships with students. And Dr. Pearson contends that if any one of those three legs is missing, a teacher is going to struggle in the classroom. A wonderful example of the importance of the relational piece in the classroom is Dr. Bertie Simmons. I went to Bertie Simmons' birthday party last month. It's held at Fur High School, where Bertie Simmons is the principal. Now, Fur High School is in Houston ISD. It serves a student population that is low income and ethnically diverse. 92% of the kids that attend Fur would qualify for free and reduced lunches. Well, Bertie doesn't hold up in her office. She's out in the hallway. She's walking and talking to the kids. She's calling them by name. She's joking with them. She's listening to them. She visits troubled kids in their homes. Now, she doesn't cut them any slack in terms of their misbehavior. If they misbehave, there are consequences. But those kids know that Bertie Simmons loves them. And she demands that her teachers show love for them too. Now, we're not talking about a kindergarten. We're not talking about an elementary school. We are talking about a high school in one of the toughest sections of Houston. And I've got to tell you that the results have been phenomenal. When Bertie came to Fur High School 15 years ago, the graduation rate was 47%. This past year, 96%. You visit Fur High School, and you will see an 81-year-old, I try to say an 81-year-old, ball of fire, who's changed the social, emotional culture of her campus through intentional love. Bertie says, I believe that the key factor in the failure of kids to perform and to stay in schools is their lack of self-esteem. She says they perceive themselves as losers. And by employing the principles of unconditional love, a caring teacher, can turn that perception around. It's hard enough giving consistent, unconditional love and care to our own children. So extending it to difficult kids in a classroom is like frustration on steroids. So how can you do it? What can teachers do? Let me share with you what I call the 7 golden rules of unconditional love and care in the classroom. First off, verbalize care. Tell the student, I care about you. For crying out loud. We know that, don't we? If you're going to let somebody else know you care about them, you've got to begin by telling them. Let the kids know you care. Verbalize it. Secondly, learn your kids' names and call them by name in the classroom and hallways. When they do exit interviews on kids who dropped out of school, one of the first things they say was, who cared? I was anonymous. Nobody even knew my name. So as best you can, try to learn kids' names and use those names, classroom and hallways. Establish good eye contact when talking with a student. I'm an expert at doing paperwork, grading papers, reading something, and carrying on a conversation with a kid. When I'm smart enough to lay that paperwork down and give that child my eyes, it's like something electric courses through their body. We intuitively know that to be true, don't we? When you first came into a relationship with your beloved and you went to that first dinner, you didn't bury your head in the plate of spaghetti. Oh no, you gave lovingly through the candlelight into the eyes of your beloved, didn't you? We know that eyes are the gateway to the soul. If you're talking with a child, it signifies to them that you're listening if you give them your eyes. Never humiliate, label, blame, or judge a student. You know that. Empower students by listening to them and offering them choices. You know, at least half the time when kids are confronting you in class, it's a power issue. They have no power at home, they have no power at school, and so they challenge you all the time. Well, if teachers can learn to offer students choices between 2 mutually acceptable solutions, it lessens the need for a kid to engage in a power conflict. It can be just the smallest thing. Like, tell you what, kids, today I've got my lesson plan together. I can either deliver the subject to you or you can break in small groups and discuss it. Which would you prefer to do? Just that little piece of decision making they offer to the kids can make a huge difference in terms of lessening their desire to confront you in class. Then counter misbehavior with 3 classic self-evaluating questions. If the kid's misbehaving, the first question is, Jason, what are you doing? Then, what should you be doing? And then finally, what are you going to do now? There are self-evaluating questions that help the kid to pause and to examine their own behavior and to choose a different direction. Then finally, use a calm, affirming voice when enforcing the logical consequences of irresponsible behavior. I guarantee you, if you get angry, you lose your temper, you lose. You lose. You're allowing the child to manipulate your emotions. So it's very important to use a calm, affirming voice, firm, affirming voice, when enforcing the logical consequences of irresponsible behavior. One more thing. True caring is not an accident. It's intentional. While some teachers are more relationally gifted than others, getting really good at showing care is a learned behavior. And everyone can learn to do it better. And it's important that we do so. And here's the good news. The time and energy you invest in expanding your capacity for caring will make your job easier, more fun, and exponentially more fulfilling. James Comer said, no significant learning ever takes place without a significant relationship. Kids who feel loved do better. Will you say it with me? Kids who feel loved do better.